Day trippers? Field trippers.
Field trippers.
Field trippers.
Episode 3.
Okay. So we appreciate everyone's feedback. We've gotten some feedback and we are listening. What we're attempting to do is create something that is without the traditional form or container. And so it might look a little bit like we don't have a plan, because we don't. And that might be kind of, I don't know, make people feel like, what are they doing? What's the format? We're just literally trying to create from this like flow state. So we'll see what unfolds. And but please keep giving us your feedback. We like to hear it. It means you're engaged, and we're grateful for that. For now, I think we're gonna just kind of continue the way we started and kind of tweak things or accept invitations to make adjustments as we go.
And we
So
will be
there's
getting
that.
microphones too.
Yeah, microphones.
That
So-
should help a little bit.
So, okay, where are we today, guys?
Here we go.
Let's do it.
So I'm thinking we should start with Laurie and just tap in. I know that last time we were asked to talk about heart frequency, but maybe there's something a little bit different that's on the agenda.
Oh,
Either
yeah.
that or we can pull a card.
Open heart surgery. Open heart surgery. I don't know. Let's just start with low. If that's
Okay, and when she says start with Laurie, she means that we're going to ask guidance through a modality that I use to connect to spirit. So we're really not starting with me. We're starting with guidance from higher energies, higher self. They're mentioning the light body and light body awareness and light body activation through awareness. Mentioning holding and maintaining higher frequencies, which helps with light body activation
and integration. So
find a source within to activate the light body and it will help to be able to more easily take on the light. So it's kind of back to what we were talking about last week. Around the open-heartedness and around this light that we're being sent.
what I'm being offered as this
Yes.
is coming in is if we can take the time to co-create or be open receivers of this. So I was visualizing the heart literally flipping a switch with my mind. I'm opening that spark, so that we are involved kind of with these higher realms. It's not something that is happening to us.
No.
We're working with the light. We're
Right.
participating with the light.
The source within.
Right.
that's consciousness.
Right.
So we are consciously being involved in the activation, consciously involved in our own ascension process, not only individually but collectively.
Yeah, and I'm thinking right now, as we start the day in the morning, when I reach to go turn on my light on the wall or turn on my lamp, if I could bring that awareness each morning, we all do it, right? We turn something on. If in that moment I could say, I'm turning on that activation within me, that I'm connecting to that energy that's being offered, and to do it with some level of consciousness.
Right. So, when we talk about the light body, though, the actual body, we are, even though our eyes see our matter, we are more than the matter. We have an auric field. That auric field is layered from the etheric body to the mental body to the emotional body to the causal body. Right. So we have all these energetic bodies, and those bodies are supposed to be maybe 15 feet in diameter or greater.
And collectively, that's the light body.
Correct.
All the layers. Well, so the bigger your light body, right? So literally it extends further and wide. So if I can think back to when I had an eating disorder and I was in my 20s and 30s, I'm sure my light body was, pretty contracted.
Right.
And as I took in more light and stepped into my power and owned my physical body, my light body then starts to expand.
Right.
Now, I don't know if this is true or not, but I heard that kind of the average biofield, so where my energy is interplaying with your energy, is 6 feet.
Okay.
And so that number, that space, we were asked to keep distant from each other during the episode of COVID was very intentional.
Oh my gosh.
So that if I were vibrating at a higher frequency that wasn't of fear, I couldn't impact you with that vibration because we were. And I also, again, I'm not in the military, I don't know if this is fact, but that in formation in the military, they are kept 6 feet apart, apparently because I guess if someone were in battle, you can't identify who's who if they're all in mass. So you energetically, my energy field is 6 feet, yours is 6 feet. So anyway, this is just random stuff, but
They said random.
Yeah, it is. It's just random stuff,
Yeah.
but I find it interesting because
That's funny.
I totally think that there's just a lot more that goes on in our day-to-day life that we just think is, just some random thing that they chose 6 feet. It's like, well, there could be more of a, more thought to it. So blah, blah, blah.
Right.
But light body.
Okay, so light body. And so we can activate it by, there's so many different ways. There's so many different ways to activate the light body, whether it's through conscious thought and thinking of that switch, flipping the switch. We can activate it by using breath work. We can activate it by using our imagination and literally imagining even our physical, just effervescent, turning on with light, brilliant, radiant with light. So using our imagination, flipping a switch, doing breath work.
Music, toning.
Music. Dancing, using our voice, toning, again, through movement. We just have to find what works for us. And that can even, you got to be flexible with it. So breath work might be today or this week, and next week it might be dancing. It could even maybe be journaling and just imagining that, that flow of light is moving through you, and then you're journaling that light.
And art.
So artwork. So there are multiple ways of activating. We just have to figure out what works for us in this moment, and then allowing ourselves to be flexible because tomorrow that might look different.
Yeah, and if we bring the energy to any of these endeavors with the mind of the ego of I need to do this, I'm not doing it right, personally for me, it's sometimes breath work, I get in my head about it and I'm like box breathing and I get too analytical. And so for me, breath work is important, and so that's something I work on. But to step into something that feels joyous, enlightening, enlivening, especially if you're just beginning on this, because I think it's easy to get mired down in like, I need to be doing this, and I need to be doing that. Just start
Am I doing it right?
Yeah, just start with what brings you joy. I mean, when you do it, it's like, I feel better after doing that.
And it can be as simple as a walk around the block, getting outside and taking a walk.
Oh my
around
gosh,
the block.
yeah, getting outside, getting barefoot, absolutely.
In the grass, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
So then, holding the frequency. So activating it just by intention, and however you choose to do that, then how do we hold that frequency? So holding it is a practice, because we are coming into interaction with one another, with situations that can bring down our energy. We can even come in across interactions that increase that frequency just as much. But holding it is a practice.
Maintenance
Ongoing
through
practice.
maintenance. So we maintain the frequency. So they just gave me a visual of the
Okay.
holding of
Okay.
the frequency.
Uh-huh.
So, and just the visual I got was like a holding, right? But a holding versus I gotta hold on to this.
Right.
It's
yeah,
a,
not here.
a cradling,
but
right?
here.
It's a
cradling.
holding,
Yeah.
but it's maintaining the frequency through the maintenance of our light body. And the maintenance of our light body is whatever you choose it to be, right? Whatever, walking in nature, like Jules is saying, or taking a walk, or whatever. But it's not the, oh my God, I lost my frequency today, because that's gonna
Ebb and
happen.
flow,
It's
yeah.
just what it is, and it's
Yeah.
how can I dance with the energies
Well-
without.
Right. Well, one of the things, so biofeedback.
Mhm.
Okay, biofeedback. Our emotions are a biofeedback of where we are in our frequency. So if we're, delighted in life, we're in a higher frequency.
Mhm.
If we're helpless and hopeless in life, or we're angry, irritated, agitated, regret, guilt, doubt, that's going to be a lower frequency. So we're constantly getting feedback. It's a matter of awareness, which was offered.
Yes.
Just having an awareness. Where are my emotions right now?
Mhm.
How am I feeling? How am I feeling as I'm driving? Am I irritated? Am I irritated easily by other drivers? Or am I solid in my frequency where I can just let all of that go one ear and out the other, or just literally go through me, and I still maintain that state of calm or state of peace, or
Right, resonance, harmony.
harmony.
Well, yeah, and when
Well,
things
because
are
it's those small things that are giving us practice.
practice, that's what I was gonna say.
Oh.
So yes, well, it is. It's like,
Yeah.
thank you for giving me an opportunity to refine what still needs to whatever
Right.
clear its way out of my system, and I
Yeah,
feel
and it's not beating yourself up if you do get upset.
No.
Because you're going to get upset. It's inevitable.
'Cause
It's
we're
just
human.
part of being human.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, this morning I was saying to the girls, like, just having awareness about, I felt this fear that something was going on with my son because he wasn't answering the phone. And I immediately kind of was like, oh my God, I probably need to drive over and check on him. My son has autism. And so, what if he's laying out on the floor? And my daughter was also kind of going into that space of like, whatever, catastrophizing, fear. And we kind of talked about it like, okay, or he could have fallen back asleep. But my brain was like, you're being crazy. He could have fallen back asleep, but my body was going, everything's on fire. And about 10 minutes later, my daughter and I were kind of snippy with each other. I was a little irritated about the state of her bathroom because the plumber was coming. She was like, why are you? And I'm like, I didn't. And I was like, okay, wait, we're both in this lower vibration of fear. And we can stay there and pull each other down, or we can take a pause. And so I saw where we were, and she yelled something, and I just said, thank you. And I mean, I walked downstairs like, but it only took us 10 minutes to find resonance again. And for me to say, gosh, I'm really sorry that we went there. I think we're both feeling anxious about our decision to not go respond to this inside of us.
Right.
And then we gave each other a hug. And so I was like, I said, okay, but it only took us 10 minutes to
Perfect.
recognize what was happening, that even a year ago, that could have like pretty much devolved the whole day.
Yeah.
Right. You spiraled down.
Right. And I'd leave to come here and bring this attitude of chaos, and she'd go to classes with that attitude. And it was like, so I think to the point of all this, it's just recognizing, wait a minute, I'm going down there.
So
Right.
what just came in was, so you've years of practice, right?
Yeah.
Maggie has a mother who's offered her years of practice.
Modeling.
Exactly. There's many people who their default is the devolvement. I mean, they're just, that one thing sets them off and then they go down. So it said, ask for, just now while you were talking, it came in to ask for the helpers. There are guides, there are angels, there are some people that are just not going to be able to even get
Pull it
there.
out.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is funny because, so pattern frequency. So literally something happens and we react, not mindfully respond or consciously respond, but we are automatically, our body reacts
Yeah.
without even our conscious thought, right? So I came across this when my mom and I weren't getting along, and I have a special ringtone for her when she calls, and literally when I was trying to like in my mind.
Wait, what is it?
Yeah.
What?
Is it the
What's the
siren?
ringtone?
No, it's just whatever ringtone, right? But literally, so it was during a time where I was trying to like repair everything in my mind or heal it all in my mind, and so I get a call from her, and automatically my stomach starts turning, and I stop. I'm like, wait a minute, and I'm like looking down at like whatever's happening here, and I'm like, what if I want to be joyous when I hear that ringtone?
Yeah.
Why are you responding in this way, right? So it really made me think about it. So then I was having this conversation with someone yesterday, and I wrote this. So neurological patterning. Habits are hard to break because of the literal thickness of the myelin sheath on the axon of the neuron. Okay, so I study biology and science and all that. So like literally, if this is the whole neuron, so this is the head body and this is what connects to the next part, the body, which is the axon of the neuron, has a myelin sheath. The thicker this is, it's a fatty pad. The thicker that is, the faster it fires. And so that's why these defaults
Because it's strong.
and these
Yeah.
patterns, it fires so quickly that we don't even have a chance to consciously respond because of the neural patterning. So the thicker the myelination sheath, or the thicker the myelination, the faster the impulse. Hence, the required pause and breath to make a new response. And that's what you did.
Yeah.
You paused and you like took a breath and you're like, wait a second, we gotta change our response because how we are responding right now is not healthy, right? And the pause and the breath cause a break in the neural patterning, allowing for a creation of a new pattern. But the new pattern is a fresh like a fresh dendrite or axon that breaks off, and that myelin sheath is thin. So we actually literally have to practice the new pattern. And as the new neural pattern gets fired, that myelination gets thicker. But as we keep on continuing that new pattern, that old pattern begins to atrophy.
Right.
Because it's not being used in the body.
So it's like a muscle.
Right.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
It's like a muscle. So to recognize we do have these unconscious defaults, and personally I think like the physical body, the consciousness of the physical body is our subconscious.
And it tells us.
And it is always giving us feedback.
Talking to us. Yeah.
It gives us feedback in how it feels in moment to moment, but it also gives us feedback into stuck habits and emotions that get lodged in different organs and different places of the body. So it's like this subconscious of who we are. So I think that our subconscious is not only out here, but it's also in the structure of the consciousness of the cells.
Well, the subtle body.
Yes.
I mean,
Subtle
it's the
body.
subtle body.
Yeah.
And that's why they're talking about awareness is so,
yeah.
Subconscious.
That's the subtle body.
Subtle
is-
body.
and the awareness is so important
Right.
because then you can say you felt that in your stomach.
Yeah, and I'm
And
like,
you're like, wait,
what?
what is this? And so,
This is-
but most people don't even have an awareness. And I don't want to say most people, but many people don't understand that you can have an awareness of that, and then really stop, take the pause,
Right.
take the breath, look at it. Why am I feeling this way? And then that's when that shift occurs.
Well,
Right.
what's being offered right now is if I am not attuned to the subtle body has to get louder and louder.
Right.
And so it's like if I'm not attuned to the subtle body, it's like it's not so subtle when all of a
Mhm.
sudden I can't move my leg
Yeah.
or I get disease because the subtle body, I wasn't attuned
Yeah.
to that field. Something that was really helpful to me before I sort of understood some of these other things we're talking about, it was really simple. I would ask myself, is what I'm about to, number one, what do I want? So this morning, what did I want? I want to feel peaceful. I want to feel safe. That's what I want. So, or even in a relationship, what do I want? I want to have a good time with my partner tonight. I'd ask myself that question, right as like the invitation to an argument would show up or whatever.
Right.
And then I would ask myself, is what you're about to do or say going to get you closer to what you want today or tonight or further away? 99% of the time of what I was about to do or say was going to get me further away. I mean, seriously. And I was like, oh my God, that I can't say that.
Yeah.
I can't do that. And mostly, I would say it happened in intimate relationships.
Right.
And what I was about to do or say, I wanted intimacy, I wanted closeness, I wanted connection, but my default was protection.
Mm-hmm.
And so what my actions were doing was literally pushing someone further away.
Right. That's a very, very strong awareness. And it really takes a lot of discipline and practice in how we move through that, because that's not only like this power center of really feeling empowered, but it's also part of like that throat chakra
Mm-hmm.
and that how we are expressing our authenticity, because we have to learn how to maneuver through that, whether it's with softness, firmness, quiet, or loud, right? And what gives us the best results. So it's like trial and error, oh, that didn't work. So then you go back, so then you try next time to be a little bit better.
Okay, this is a good story about this, because I had the awareness that what I was gonna say was not good.
Right.
I was like, nope, don't say that. And so I stopped speaking what I wanted to speak, because I hadn't yet learned a more graceful way. And even whatever I was trying, it wasn't working. So I went about a year, and I was married at the time, and I was like, I'm gonna say nothing, because what I'm gonna say is gonna not be helpful. That's when I developed 3 tumors in my throat. And I knew immediately what this was about. I was suppressing this energy
Oh, wow.
that wanted to release itself, and I didn't have the skills yet to
Yeah.
do it in a way that wouldn't be malignant to my relationship. And instead, I developed 3 tumors in my throat, which, another episode, but were cleared through frequency and vibration. So, I mean, I was down
Literally singing,
chanting, I'm not with this man anymore, because, so I went to, what was that hospital down? You would think I would know it because I was there. No, it was in Texas. It's the Cancer
Mayo.
Center, MD Anderson.
Okay.
And I was down there with oncologists down there, and long story short, they were going to have to remove my thyroid and the bridge and all this stuff, and they said, this is our first time seeing you. We don't know how you might respond to things, so we'd like you to come back in 6 months. And so I went home like, oh my God, they're just going to send me home for 6 months? What if it's going to grow? And what if all these terrible things are going to happen? And of course, I'm looking at my husband like, it's because of you. It's because of you. But then I, actually had been introduced to Reiki. And so I was aware of this kind of energy. And I was like, I'm just going to start chanting. And so every day, I chanted. And I mean, to the point where my husband was like, enough with the fucking chanting! You're gonna have to get chemo or radiation like everybody else! And I was like, excuse me, well, I try to save my life. And I'm not a good singer, so I don't blame him. But
well, he had a bigger house.
But it was a big enough house that he could have gone somewhere else.
Yeah.
But long story short, 6 months later, I went back to MD Anderson and they did the scans, nothing. And I could feel the day that it left. It like dropped to the back of my head and went out the top. And it was like, and I called my husband, and my voice was really hoarse at the time, like almost a year.
It was from all that chanting.
Well, it sounded like I had like a smoker's.
Oh,
It was like, well, everyone was like, what's wrong with you? And I called my husband at the time, and I was like, oh my God, a miracle. And he was like, you sound completely normal. And I'm like, it's gone. It left my body. It's a miracle, whatever. So frequency, awareness, and that there have been little things like that have helped me to really be passionate about what we're talking about.
Right.
Like so passionate.
Well, and that's a profound story to tell. And it's an experience that you had personally. So the fact that you can tell that story has such an impact on other people's awareness, which is amazing.
Yeah.
So I like it.
Okay, well, thank you.
All right. So they also mentioned something about asking for helpers.
Yes.
Okay. So we, while our eyes can only see our matter, others can, maybe see some light bodies. I'm a firm believer that we have a legion of helpers. Angels, guides, ancestors, light beings of all kinds, cosmic beings, galactics, you name it, whatever you want to name it, right? But we have a team of angelics, light beings that are here to support us. But we are in a free will zone. We have to ask.
Yeah.
We have to continually
They
ask.
specifically say
Ask,
ask. Yes.
ask for help.
Yes.
Not only ask for those light beings, but ask for your own higher self, soul, spirit, whatever you want to call that greatness that you are as a light body or as a light being that's connected to Mother, Father, Creator, creation itself, God, whatever you want to call it. So ask for help.
Mm-hmm.
Allow that light to pour in, allow the inspiration to be poured in, ask for the synchronicities.
And intercession,
Totally.
Because when they're saying they're
Intercession, nice.
Yeah, they're
I
saying
like that.
the idea of being held, holding that frequency, sometimes we can't.
Right.
Sometimes we just can't. There's too much going on. And sometimes they can hold that frequency for us.
And surround
I
us with
love
that
that.
higher vibration.
I love that.
Asking for help. So my sister was in town and she's just kind of waking up to this. And we did angel cards. It's when I got my angel deck and she was having some stuff she was struggling through. And so we pulled a card, and I don't know all the angels. So Fanuel was new to me. And that was this angel of hope. And my sister, she called me the other day and she was like, well, I wake up in the middle of the night and I start to work. I just call on Fanuel. And she's like, every time Fanuel comes and I just go back to sleep. And I mean, I love this story because she literally is like, oh, okay, you picked an angel card. I'm going to choose to energize this connection
Nice.
by calling in Fanuel
Mm-hmm.
every night. And she's like, every time I forget to call in Fanuel, I'm up all night. She's like, but when I call on him, So it's that kind of thing. You just start with, I mean, I think everyone believes in the concept of a guardian angel. I mean, that's not a big stretch.
Right.
Right.
So it's like,
Just
call in your guardian angel.
Yeah.
I need help.
Yeah.
I need
And
help.
that's where free will, you have the choice to call it in, and then also you have to trust. And that's a huge part of this process, is just kind of releasing and then trusting and having grace for your humanness and your inability sometimes to be okay. I mean, I've been doing this for I don't know how many years now. Sometimes stuff will pop up on Facebook that I posted, 6, 7, 8 years ago, and I'm like, what? How did I even know that back then? And I didn't even know that I knew, but there was a part of me that knew, and I forgot. And it's just, this is a continuous process and a continuous remembering and a continuous choice that I have to make every single day, every single moment.
Well, what's coming in right now is we have the idea of the word allowance. We give our kids allowance or whatever, but as we are in this state of allowance and receptivity, all the treasures and gifts and riches are unlocked and available to us where we're in the state of allowance. And so yeah, that's a thing. And it's going to come in whatever form it's going to come. I can't be attached to the way it's going to show up,
Right.
Whether it's hummingbirds but seeing that magic in what others might see as just kind of mundane, ordinary events.
So we're made to be human. We are light, but we are made to be human. The matter is human, the material world. We are in the material world. And there is a huge amount of, again, grace that is needed to be part of this human experience. It's part of the process.
And I want to talk about a little magic, because this channeling thing, so Laurie will get it like that, and I'll get it this way. And they were talking to me about grace as you were doing that. And so I love it when it's, these are always affirmations. As much as we do this, it's always.
Well, the fact that you said random, because they were saying
random.
It's a random, the light body, the randomness of it.
Right. It's just so fun how it's all connected.
And we are okay with silence, FYI. Just when we are silent, just pause with us.
We're in allowance.
There we are in allowance. Yes. And they say it is accruing interest, that allowance.
Oh, well, that's lovely.
Yeah. That's what they just said. They're wanting us to talk about how we can use I am affirmations.
Oh, okay.
To open our hearts to awareness and to the acceleration of the light and the light body.
So yeah, I mean,
Can-
people start, go ahead, yeah.
Okay, so one of the things I want to say real quick as far as we're meant to be human and the matter and the material. So this humanness, the matter, allows us to have these experiences that we're having in life. Like literally life is a series of experiences. Life is a matter of the series of experiences within a frequency. Is it in a love frequency or fear frequency? Is it in a blissful, joyful, delightful experience, or is it misery and irritating experience? So literally that's all life is this experience, and the matter, the material, allows us to have that frequency of experience. Yeah, that's right.
Well, and the shaping of the matter. So as we are material, we are able to step into our mastery by shaping matter, which is kind of cool. And we don't really fully understand that we are shaping what arrives to us in material form, you know, that we are
Right.
shaping matter.
Right. I mean, even just if you think about our physical body, we are shaping that. You know, it's like the purity of it, or the disease of it, the alignment of it, or the misalignment of it. Like, we are constantly getting feedback. Our material is constantly giving us feedback onto where we are in our frequency.
Right.
And what are our next lessons, or what are the experiences that we're in right now? What is coming to us to experience? I mean, we're constantly in this feedback if we can be aware of the feedback that's being offered for us to take the next step. And how do we choose to navigate all of the things that are coming forward?
Yeah, and what is the perception we place on it? So as we've been talking this whole time, you guys, I mean, my legs are doing that whole energetic thing where it's like zip, 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 which is great. But if my perception of what is happening in my leg or legs, I mean, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, I would have been like, I don't know what's going on neurologically. My aunt had MS, and her nerves were degenerating, and that probably runs in my family, and oh my God, what's happening? I would literally create that reality that there's something wrong happening in my legs. Instead, I'm sitting here like, this is great, my light body's getting some upgrades. People can decide that I'm a lunatic for thinking that. But guess what? I like thinking this way.
Yeah.
Because great things seem to continue to happen with this mindset versus like, what's happening with my matter? There's something the matter with my matter.
Yeah.
Instead of like, my matter is taking on more light. This feels interesting. You know what I mean?
Several years ago, I had convinced myself that I had rheumatoid arthritis.
Okay.
I had it. I went to the doctor, they did an x-ray, they saw a little inflammation in my ankles and said, yes, we're going to go with that diagnosis. And so I had rheumatoid arthritis. I convinced myself of it. And it was at the time in my life when I was feeling the most stuck, the most unable to move, the most rigid, the most just solid in this is my life and this is the way it's going to be.
Settling.
Yes. And when I started to move out of that, things started shifting in my physical body. I was more flexible.
Right.
I felt, you know, things that hurt before stopped hurting. So it was funny how much my mind wanted me to have some sort of diagnosis.
Right. And diagnosis, die of that gnosis. So gnosis is the knowing, right?
Yeah.
And so in this moment, when you receive a diagnosis, I mean, literally, you can die of that gnosis.
Yeah.
So if I believe,
Right.
Yeah.
I have this cancer, and you believe you have that, once we know it to be true, we might die of that gnosis.
Right. And
You
gnosis
know?
means knowledge,
Knowing.
wisdom,
Right.
knowing.
So whatever we decide is, we know, you know you have arthritis. You just know it.
Yeah.
Right. Which is form follows thought. And that's the whole idea behind quantum physics,
Right.
is that form follows thought. The matter is literally only blossoming into what our thoughts are.
Right. It's totally responding to our thoughts,
Right.
which is,
So, what are you thinking?
what do you
So
think?
awareness
No
is
stinking
key.
thinking.
So back to this idea of help, of calling in help, of choosing. What are some I am statements, or what are some things that we can offer to people who might be listening or watching, that they can do to bring that energy in?
Okay, so I want to just give a platform for us, our foundation of I am affirmations. And literally, I am Statements are decrees, they're declarations. So literally, we use I am statements all the time. I am tired. I'm sick of this. What else do we say? But like literally,
I'm so forgetful.
right. So I am, whatever follows that is a declaration of what you choose to be your truth.
Right.
Yes.
And that's why it's super important to have aware of our, like we can even use I am statements just in our thoughts of how we like perceive our own self or think of our own self. That self-judgment or criticism, like it's really important to like cut it out.
Right.
Like stop talking that way. Be kind and gentle to yourself.
Have grace.
Have grace. But I am affirmations, I am statements, I am declarations are a powerful way to decree life, to manifest life.
Yeah.
So they can be simple, and it needs to be something you somewhat can back up with the frequency. So I am a powerful creator. I am light.
I am love.
All right, I am love.
I am love.
I am a spark of the divine. I am a creator. And whatever it is, that's a place where you can start without a lot of energetic resistance.
I am open.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
I am aware.
Right.
I am aware.
I find relief in my life. I find peace. I am, even if it's like,
I am healing.
yeah.
I am healed.
Yeah. Well, and you know, going back to that kind of, some people, I can speak for my own experience. When I was in my 30s, I was not aware of that running inner dialogue. And so maybe start bringing awareness to what is your running inner dialogue when you're running carpool or at the grocery store. What's happening up there, which is like, oh my God, I've got so much to do. I'm never going to get it all. What is your dialogue? And then I realized I had these patterns that were actually kind of people in my past who had been kind of abusive. And I'm like, you're a piece of shit. No, I mean, there'd be things that would come up in my brain that was like, you're a loser. And I mean, I didn't really have that awareness until I was in my 30s that I kind of had this team of assholes living in my head that were basically bombarding me when I'd find myself in situations that were uncomfortable. And I started kind of untangling that. And what I had to start with was, okay, wait, when's the first time I heard this? And who was the first person? All right, got it. This isn't me. And then I would have to ask myself, would you speak these words to anyone else? And the answer was always no.
Right.
And so that realization, you're feeling burdened or depressed, Julie, because you are silently abusing yourself with these unconscious thoughts. I was not aware of them. And so before I could have gotten to the I am not a loser. And then it's like, okay, what can I counter that with?
Or the cancel. It works.
Yeah,
It
cancel. I'm love. I'm not a loser. Whatever it is. But I had these unconscious tapes that were playing. And so, I mean, I'm just offering that because I think there are probably people out there that are running tapes.
Oh, I still
they don't know.
I know you've kind of moved past it to where you're like, oh, I really don't have too much other than the task at hand. I am washing the dishes, or I am listening to music and singing the songs, and it's really nothing more than that. But I still have that where I have these kind of replaying thoughts, and you have to stop them any way that you can. You don't have to judge them. It's just a thought. It ultimately can hurt you if you let it go, but you don't have to judge it. You just have to be aware of it, and
just
then
take a breath with it.
Yeah.
Well, flipping the switch on.
Yeah.
But flipping that script or that switch off. I mean, it's literally.
Yep.
But as soon as you flip the switch on, so as soon as you've illuminated it, it has to shift.
Yeah. We'll flip the script.
Yeah. It has to shift. It can't. So with awareness, those thoughts do not have the same power.
Right.
with awareness, those thoughts do not have the same power. They just don't. It's like it's cosmically not possible to have awareness of something and still allow that to have its same power.
Well, because it's almost as if you're watching a movie and you're hearing that, you know how sometimes you'll hear the inner dialogue of a character in a movie and you're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe she's saying that about herself. That's not anything I would say about her. So it's almost like you have to hop over into that observer mode where you're like, oh, that was an interesting thought that just came through my brain. I didn't create the thought, it just popped in there. I'm observing it, I'm aware of it, I'm consciously aware of it, and now I'm going to flip the script.
Yeah, because if you, to both of your points,
Right.
when you flip the switch of illumination, which is kind of how we started this,
Right.
each morning you're inviting more of that light in. As you flip the switch, you flip the script.
Mm-hmm.
It just changes,
Right.
Yeah.
which is
Awesome.
awesome.
Which is everything. Oh, we're gonna do a time check.
Do they have anything they want to wrap it up with?
Where are we at on time? 46 minutes. I feel like that's good.
Yes.
I feel like that's a good place to end things. That's all.
Oh, okay, we're done. Goodbye. Thank you for
Cheers.
coming.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Adios.
Ciao, ciao.